18 to 24-year-old age group, and this is one of our problems, is we have a problem with sexual hazing right now in the military. And a lot of people don't realize that what they're doing is a sexual assault. And let me talk about that for a second. Does anybody know where I'm getting ready to go with this? No. We have a thing, and it's called teabagging or mushroom stamping. And I get some chuckles, so people are tracking what I'm talking about, right? All right, but some people don't, because it's a generational thing. It wasn't something that was a problem when I was a kid, right? And what these things are, I did this job downrange. I have people right now registered sex offenders for doing this, so it is a problem, okay? And what teabagging is usually while someone's asleep, they place their genitals on their face while they're sleeping. Or mushroom stamping, where they whack someone in their face with their penis while they're sleeping, okay? And like I said, and I use those terms because that's what they call it. If we don't talk real, you won't know how to address it if you see it, if you hear it. Because the soldiers, we're in the same place as our soldiers are, right? We eat lunch in the same place as they do. We're out and about in the mall. We're around that same thing. If they're talking about this stuff, a lot of times they're not talking about, going to Starbucks, right, or getting tea, right? They're talking about sexual assault thing. And it's huge because it's also in our video game culture. It starts so young. We've desensitized our young people. If anybody tracking Call of Duty, Halo, does anybody know these games? All right, if you know anything what I'm talking about with these games, the goal is what? To kill someone, right? But people like to further degrade the person after they've shot them in these games, and they have the little character run over top of them, and they simulate this popping and squatting up over top of their face after they've killed them. I'm not making this stuff up. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? I'm not making it up, right? All right, I wish I was, but I don't make this stuff up, right? You can YouTube it. You can see this stuff. It is out there. And guess what? It's bleeding into our real world. Our real soldiers, our real people are doing this, and it really is it's become a very, very big problem. And so I really want to make sure we're hitting on that some so that we can address this piece. I'll even get into a little bit more about it in a little bit more later. So let me back up just a second. So we are talking about sexual harassment, though, right? So we're talking about the shoulder massages, blocking someone, something of that effect, forcing someone to kiss them, right? Something like that effect, where it's a physical approach to sexual contact, right? So we can see that. All right. Now we know that there's some differences in how the military's program works and how our active duty soldiers work and how our program works as civilians, right? And I'm just going to put this up here, but I want to highlight just a couple things, right? Who do we go to as civilians if we experience sexual harassment? Supervisor. But if you want to file a report, who does that? EEO. For civilians, it's EEO. For the military, who does it? Sharp, right? All right, the Sharp teaches it for everybody, but for civilians, we file it with EEO. Military files it with Sharp. Very important to know. We also have one other difference, big difference, and that's the timeline. Okay? For civilians, how long do we have to report? 45 days. Soldiers have 60 days. All right? So there's a couple differences there that I want to make sure you're tracking the timelines. So we've got some approaches, right? If we experience sexual harassment, though, we've got some ways of dealing with it, right? And somebody talked about tell a supervisor, but one of the first things we can do is what? The direct approach, which is what? Yeah, tell someone, hey, I didn't like that, please don't do that again, right? The direct approach. What's another way? If we have a direct approach, then we should have a indirect. And what does that look like? Right, we might send an email, right? Send a letter, a note of some sort, right? That would be an indirect approach. What's another way we can go about doing that? You might tell a friend, right? Let's say, we're at work, right? And he says something that offends me. I know you hang out with him. We hang out. I might not have the best relation with him, so I might ask you, hey, will you let your buddy know that bothered me? And it's an easy, quick, right? Quick fix. Telling someone, right? And then we also could tell a supervisor. And then we also know that we have a complaint process that you can go to. You can file an informal or a formal complaint, right? I do want to talk a little bit about the informal complaint just for a second, because I think it gets a bad rap sometimes, especially for our service members, right? For the civilians, we have the alternate dispute resolution. We have some ways that we can go about informally handling this, or we can file that formal complaint, right? For our service members, though, a lot of times people don't realize that the informal complaint is not just sweeping it under the rug. Have you heard that before? If you file an informal complaint, it's sweeping it under the rug. I want to highlight that the informal complaint is actually a really kind of a neat process, because it builds rapport with the command, right? It allows them a chance to fix it. They can do everything they do for a formal complaint that they do for an informal. I don't know if everybody's aware of that. They do the same 15-6 investigation. They can still do UCMJ, hold the person accountable, right? The one neat thing, too, about it is it allows the person, it allows the command to fix it, but it allows them to get 2 shots at it. Because if the command doesn't take it seriously, if they don't investigate it properly, they can still file a formal complaint, right? So it allows you to get 2 shots opposed to going straight to formal and only having that 1 shot at it, okay? So I think a lot of people don't realize that the power of the informal complaint process and what it can do. All right, and the one big difference between the two is that that informal complaint isn't filed in writing. It doesn't have to be filed in writing, okay? Now, I'm going to skip over the exercises. This slide simply shows you that if you are a service member, especially, if you commit a sexual harassment, if you do something, you can get in trouble. And there's a list of stuff you can get in trouble for and how they can get you, okay? So it's bad, right? So now I want to talk about sexual assault. What's the Army's sexual assault policy? Very similar, right, to the sexual harassment policy. 0 tolerance, right? And what does that mean? It means the same kind of thing, that we're going to offer services. That's what my role is to provide services, right? Notify law enforcement, investigate it properly, and try to hold the person accountable, right? That's what we're trying to do. 0 tolerance. All right, I want to talk about reporting options, because we know that there are 2 ways that a service member can report. And does anybody here a dependent of an active duty service member? All right, I want to make sure you all know that this program also applies to you. It also applies to your dependents over 18. So a lot of people aren't tracking that, but the SHARP program is for not just active duty, but their spouses and their dependents over the age of 18. Okay, so they can file these same reporting options. There are 2 reporting options, right? You have a restricted report and an unrestricted report. The restricted report allows you to get the services of 4 individuals. That's your sexual assault response coordinator, right? The victim advocate, the chaplain, and medical health care provider. These 4 people are bound by confidentiality. They cannot share that information with anybody unless we get permission from the survivor in writing, okay? The restricted report was created in order to allow an individual to come forward and get services without launching that official investigation. It allows them to make some choices in the time frame that they want to. We'd hope that they make an unrestricted report at a later time, and if they do, right, the unrestricted report gets you the services of those same 4 individuals, but it also gets you the service of the chain of command, because the chain of command can do things that the SART can't do, right? Such as expedited transfer. Is everybody tracking what an expedited transfer is for our service members? All right, we know that sexual assault typically, and you saw that in the video, involves someone that the perpetrator or that the victim knew, right? Usually it's within inside that organization a lot of times. And so what we've done is we've created a program to allow that service member to change units, whether it's from company to company or installation to installation. It has to be approved within the first 72 hours, and it can only be disapproved by the first general officer in that soldier's chain of command. All right? We can also do military protective orders, and the command is going to notify law enforcement in an attempt to hold the perpetrator accountable. Okay? There are a couple limitations, though, right? The one thing I want to stress, the limitation on the restricted report, right, is that command can't do anything because they don't know anything. So nothing's going to happen to the perpetrator. They're still going to be in your workplace if that's where they were to start with, right? You're still going to see them. You might see them get promoted. You might see them get awards, right? Because no one knows, right, except for those 4 people. The limitation on the unrestricted report that I want to highlight is that once the bell's been rung, right, once you go unrestricted, you can't go back. Okay? On the restricted side, you can change to an unrestricted, but once that investigation is started, you cannot go back. All right, and then we talked about who can file, and we highlighted a little bit about that it applies to our dependents as well. All right, so let's talk about consent, because this to me is the cornerstone of the whole program, right? When we talk about sexual assault, it's about getting consent, and we get consent, right, in so many ways, don't we? We get it, right? When you're driving home tonight and you see the red light come on, what's that mean? It means stop, right? We know bad stuff happens if we don't, right? We get that. We know that. You know, and if you run that, you know, if you're breaking the law, bad things happen. This is the home, you know, right? Fort Bragg is like the home of the airborne, right? And this is what I share the same dialogue with our service members, and I like to share it with you all because I think we really can get it. A lot of us here are ex-service members, or we've been here on Fort Bragg a while. We understand that. And I got a paratrooper right over here, so I'm going to pick on you, sir, right? You're the number one jumper in that aircraft, right? That red light is on. Are you going to exit that aircraft? No, bad stuff happens, right? Bad stuff happens when you exit the aircraft on a red light. You get hurt. You get in trouble. Bad things happen. And you know all about jump masters too, right? Are you jump master, sir? Oh, well, I'm a former jump master, so I understand this a little bit, right?
I'm an MP, though, so I like red lights.
Oh, no. Okay, good. Okay. But our jump masters, right, these guys threw lots of checks right before they put paratroopers out the door, don't they? Right? When they're on the ground, they're going to make sure and check and make sure that all their equipment is hooked up correctly. They get up in the aircraft and they make sure they're hooked up correctly. They hang outside the aircraft and make sure there's nothing unsafe that's going to hurt that paratrooper, right? And they stand by and they wait for a green light to come on before they put the paratrooper out the door, right? See, today I want everybody here to think of themselves as a jump master, even you, sir, jump master. So I don't want anybody to ever put their paratrooper out the door unless they have a green light, right? Consent, right? I'm retired out of these seconds. We get that a little bit, right? We get consent. People have been to the range before, right? When you're at the range, sir, and the tower says ceasefire, what does it mean? Stop, right? Right away. No matter how much adrenaline you got going on, no matter what's going on, you stop firing, right? Everybody tracking that? Make sense? All right, and the way I equate this to the SHARP program is this. If you're having sex with someone or attempting to have sex with someone and they tell you it's time to stop, it does not mean to continue to put rounds down range, right? You place your weapon on safe and you wait for a go from a tower, right? And we laugh because we understand it, right? It's consent. We need to have that. We need to translate those same ideas into the world of SHARP, right? I think everybody here remembers no means no, right? That's not a new concept, is it? The thing I want to introduce to you is why not get a yes? A clear and sober yes, right? How much better is sex when you have a yes? It's better, right? Yes is good. Yes is good, right? And it applies to those of us that are married too, right? We got to get a yes, don't we? Who here is married? A whole bunch of us are married, right? Of those people, who's been to Disneyland before that's married? You know what it's like. So you've been to Disneyland, right? You go to Disneyland, you pay your money at the front door, and you get to ride the ride all day long, right? No one's going to stop you. You stand in line, right? But no one's going to stop you, right? In fact, today you get the fast pass, right? But marriage doesn't work like Disneyland, right? Just because you pay your money for your certificate does not give you permission to ride the ride whenever you want. We've got to get consent. Correct? All right. And with that, I like to share this, okay? Because we like to share best practices. If you've been in the military a while, that's what we do, right? We don't want to just tell people what not to do, right? We want to tell people what to do, right? And so I've been married 21 years, and so I like to share a little bit of my best practice. And this is just kind of what, it looks like for me. And what's today? Wednesday? Not going to happen tonight. But I know, I'll get to that one, right? But I know on Friday, right, when I drive home, I've got a candle in my bedroom, okay? And I know if I get home and that candle's lit, that I'm getting lucky tonight, okay? But I also know, because it has happened, you get a little overzealous, right? You drive home, I go upstairs, I light the candle, I go brush my teeth, and I come back to the smoke of an extinguished flame. And it's not my night, okay? But that's how we've worked it out. And the reason I share that with you all is because of this. A lot of people think getting consent is the mood killer, right? They think that it's going to cramp their style, that it's going to shut everything down. You got to get it. You might as well have fun with it, right? You might as well have fun with it. It's such an integral part of what we're trying to change, is that we're trying to get the yes, get that consent, because that's what it's all about, is that yes. And we have to stop being afraid. If you're afraid to ask, you might not be ready to have it at this time, right? You're not ready to have sex. And I think too often, a lot of times, and you'll see in videos, we talk so much about what not to do, and we're afraid to talk about what to do. And I really want to open up that dialogue with all of you, that it's okay to talk about what to do, because we want people to understand what right looks like, right? And share that. because we're trying to create healthy relationships, and I think that's what it's all about. All right, so I can talk about consent all day long. I think it's really, really important. Unfortunately, I'm getting ready to show you a video that does not have an issue of consent in it. And so afterwards, we're going to dissect that a little bit, all right?
No. No, let go of me. I just want to go home. Let go. Get off. Let go.
Sir?
Let's begin. When I took over command of this brigade 2 months ago, I ordered a command climate survey be conducted, and we're here today to discuss the findings of that report. I'm counting on all of you to bring me up to speed on our situation here. Our SARC Sharps specialist, Ms. Jensen, is first on the agenda, and I'm going to turn the time over to her to start.
I'm passing around the findings of the Command Climate Survey as it relates to sexual harassment and sexual assault. In the last year, we had 11 reports of sexual harassment, 9 informal, 2 formal. We had 6 reports of sexual assault, 4 unrestricted, 2 restricted. Most of these were soldiers, 1 dependent family member. Our brigade statistics line up pretty closely with those of the Army-wide stats when you consider the number of personnel in the brigade. 86% of the victims that reported incidents were females. 14% were males. And it's important to note, due to the higher percentage of men to women in the military, studies show that overall, there are more males than females that are victims. However, males are less likely to report. Over half of these assaults occur on the weekend. Many involve alcohol. The vast majority involve a victim and an offender that are acquainted. Most of these are young soldiers. 84% E1 through E4. 60% of their offenders are also E1 through E4. Again, we had 11 sexual harassment cases, 6 sexual assaults. That's 17 people. Please remember, these are people, they're not just numbers. Okay, the more troubling information is over on page 2. 66% of the soldiers in this brigade said that they would not report sexual assault. 77% said they wouldn't report sexual harassment. 41% believe that someone in their organization would be able to get away with sexual harassment. Now, there are more stats in the report, but in short, we have a problem. There's a lack of faith in the system to report. These people think that sexual harassment and sexual assault is normal. And the results of this survey show that our brigade's efforts to prevent sexual harassment and sexual assault are not widely accepted or adopted.
And starting today, that's going to change. This is a threat to the entire Army. Under my command, we will take every effort to eliminate instances of sexual harassment and sexual assault. Even one case is too many. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, sir.
Some of us do not seem entirely convinced.
Permission to speak freely, sir.
Go ahead.
Unit leaders are going to resist, sir. Everyone feels we've already done all we can on this matter. They're going to say, aren't there more important subjects to focus on?
Most of you don't know this, but during my last deployment, somebody very close to me was sexually assaulted by a soldier, and it happened right here.
You ever think about going pro, Corporal? Because that gutter ball was sweet.
Yeah, laugh it up, boys. What can I say? I was a little distracted.
Well, damn.
Ladies on lane 7 are looking good.
Hey, am I crazy or were they looking at Jay?
You serious?
Oh, yeah, they've been looking at you all night.
No way.
How about you guys quit drooling and just bowl?
Well, it's your ball, so whenever.
Oh, right.
I'm gonna go take a piss.
Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great. I thought it was just supposed to be the squad tonight.
Come on, that was all talk. He's not gonna do anything about it.
Oh, you sure about that?
See? No problem. I mean, you guys have known Jason's his first deployment back when he was practically still in Pampers. We've been to hell and back together. He's a good kid.
So are you all from around here?
Yeah. We're on summer break.
Oh, yeah? We're on a bit of a summer break ourselves. Just got back from Afghanistan last week.
We just finished school.
Oh, yeah? Mm-hmm. You at State?
Yeah.
Nah, man, I'm serious. Walker's the real deal. Back when we were in theater, we got in a firefight, and everyone's freaking out. But Walker, he kept us cool, saved all our asses.
Weren't you scared?
No, I just got clipped. It's really not that big of a deal.
Oh, hell, it wasn't, man. Show me your scar.
What? Did that hurt?
Nah, it was fine. Sometimes you gotta take a hit for your brothers.
And your sisters.
Yeah.
All right, dumbass. It's time to leave.
Hey, what's to say? Okay, tell you what. You ladies want to ride with us? I'm headed back to our post right now to get totally trashed.
We are?
No thanks, we just started a new game. I'm in. You coming, Alana?
Yeah, let's go.
I think we're gonna stay here.
Wait, I want to come too.
Oh, can we go back, you guys?
Why? Did you leave something?
No, I forgot to give back my shoes.
I have always wanted a pair of those.
Yeah? That'd be a good look for you. And again, I feel like everything's a good look on you.
Hey, what's up?
I thought tonight was supposed to be us spending time together as a unit.
Well, I guess now it's the unit plus some new friends.
Yeah, well, if you guys are getting a bunch of girls drunk, then I'm not hanging around. And you know better. But keep tabs on Jay. He's got that look in his eye.
I will. Okay, I will. Like I told you before, Jay's a good guy.
Yeah, well, seriously, stay sober. Somebody has to be the grown-up.
Don't beat me. You're great. You're great.
Shoot him! Shoot him! Shoot him! Oh! All right. That's it, you guys. I think it's time for me to take you girls home.
Already?
It is 2 in the morning. You okay to drive? Because I'm not.
Where's your guys' friend?
Alana?
Yep.
I think she went outside.
That was a while ago.
Sure, everything's fine. Walker's there with her.
Okay. All right. Well, I left my keys in the other barracks, so I'm gonna be back. You guys sit tight. No. You come on.
No, I should probably go.
What's the rush?
My friends might be worried.
Yeah, I don't think they're that worried.
No. I don't want to anymore. No. I just want to go inside.
Yeah.
No, just let me go inside.
You're not gonna go inside.
Let go. Stop. Let go of me. Let go.
Fine, okay?
I just want to go. Let go!
My family's going to be dealing with the trauma of what happened next for the rest of our lives. But I don't just blame Specialist Walker. I blame myself. This was a failure of leadership. And that starts from the top of the chain on down. There is so much that could have been done in front of the problem to prevent this. And that's inexcusable. Not in my army. Now, the Pentagon says that this is a leadership priority throughout the Army. It's personal for me, but it's important for every single member of the Army community. Every victim is somebody's sister or daughter or mother or brother.
The Colonel's right. This isn't just a male-on-female issue. Most of the victims, as I stated, are males, and they're even less likely to report.
That's why we're all here today. To talk about what we can change to make sure that this doesn't happen to someone else's loved one in the future. While the personal costs are high, the cost to our Army is high as well. Ms. Jensen, can you explain how this incident has affected the unit?
That unit is still struggling. The offender is serving time, but he was a highly regarded soldier, and his conviction has caused a lot of division. Trust is damaged, there's a lot of blaming, and a definite loss of focus. Their first sergeant tells me that the perpetrator's actions destroyed morale and ruined mission performance. Frankly, I think most of the soldiers are planning to leave the Army as soon as they can. It's a waste. Because of him, soldiers were pulled away for interviews with investigators, and then people missed days of work to testify at the court-martial. The first sergeant feels it's really impacted their ability to complete the mission.
We cannot afford any more incidents. And change has to start with our words. Everything we say affects the environment around us. You all know the pattern. Sexualized speech can lead to sexual harassment, which can escalate to sexual assault. Everybody has to understand that prevention of sexual harassment and sexual assault is their responsibility. Even the buddy who overhears some inappropriate comment or the bystander who sees something.
Every soldier needs to be empowered to intervene to stop sexual harassment and sexual assault. Think of the situation we were just discussing. There were numerous opportunities when someone could have stepped in to intervene. Her friends could have acted to protect her and themselves long before she was in danger. They could have intervened indirectly without a confrontation. Indirect intervention could be anything from distracting the potential attacker to changing the subject, to inserting oneself into a risky situation so the potential victim is never left alone. Even later, someone must have seen that trouble was brewing. Instead of egging him on, one of Private Walker's fellow soldiers should have confronted him.
Direct intervention.
That's right.
Jay! Dude. Bad idea, man. Look, whatever it is you're thinking, you better slow down. She's way too drunk. Hey, Alana, come on back, all right? Your friends are wondering about you. Come on.
But Corporal Wong was the last line of defense. If he had intervened, this wouldn't have happened. He could have distracted Walker, diffusing the situation.
Walker!
No.
There you are. Hey man, the guy's about to start up a game of poker. Don't want you to come in and lose all your money.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of in the middle of something.
Well, I'm about to give the girls a ride home. Alana, you ready to go?
Yeah, I am.
There's other ways he could have handled it, too. If he was uncomfortable getting involved alone, He could have asked for help from someone else.
Get off! No, I don't.
Let go of her, now!
Just having fun,
Doesn't
man.
look like she's having fun.
We talk about enemies in combat, but there are predators among those that we interact with every day. Studies show that most sexual assaults are committed by a small number of serial offenders who use alcohol to give themselves an alibi or to make the victim feel like they're responsible.
There are predators among us, individuals who know what they're doing. They know how to target vulnerable people.
Looks like I know what I'm doing tonight.
They even know how to make it look like what happened was consensual. These people are very charming. They're very good at their work, and they know how to blend in, but they hurt people. We need to teach everyone how to recognize the warning signs so they can intervene early. We need to teach soldiers that alcohol and drug-assisted sexual assault is not okay, and it's a crime. We have people from different backgrounds, and we need to instill Army values across the entire group. That's why teaching our fellow soldiers how to effectively intervene is so important, because often it's possible to stop a perpetrator before things escalate and do permanent harm.
Are you okay, honey?
Oh, yeah, she's fine.
You know, I don't think she's fine.
And we need to believe our victims and take appropriate action against their offenders, no matter what the rank.
I couldn't agree with you more. But let's talk about the root cause of the problem. Let's talk about lack of leadership or toxic leadership. As leaders, our words and actions have to show that we take these things seriously. Let's be honest. Are some leaders part of the problem? Do they make sexual jokes? Do they blow off sharp training? Do they expect soldiers to be kind of wild and crazy when they're off duty?
You're right. When leaders don't take this matter seriously, soldiers take their cues from them. I mean, how often have you seen a sharp training session start out like this?
All right, guys. That time of year again. We're going to be doing some sharp training. It's going to take a couple hours, so buckle up. Every year we do this. We watch the video, we get the instruction, we sign our names, we check the box. At the end, we're going to open the floor for questions. I expect that no one will have any questions. If you do have any questions, feel free. All questions will cost you 25 push-ups. Do I make myself clear?
Yes.
All right, squad leaders, you're going to give me some good accountability. Send around a sign-up sheet. All right, let's move out.
There will be no tolerance for leaders who are openly dismissive of sexual harassment complaints and reports. Too many people are prone to just disbelieve or even blame the victim. It has to stop, period. But we must help the victim recover and safeguard him or her from reprisal. Now, there's one other thing I want